My message here today at the Press Club is to let them know what's going on with transportation throughout Louisiana. All the great projects that are going on and the projects that are coming up so that they can get the word out to the motorist, and the motorist will know what to expect with regards to transportation projects. So what I want to cover, I want to talk about DOTD's responsibilities, just an overview of our funding, our accomplishments, and then I want to spend time talking about focus on key corridors throughout Louisiana and how we at DOTD are moving projects forward, really planning our future, looking towards the future. Our scope of responsibility is quite large. There are 16,000 miles of state highways in Louisiana, 931 miles of interstate, bridges, 13,000 plus bridges, 8,000 state-owned, and about 5,000 locally owned. Now, those locally owned bridges, we also perform the bridge inspections for those bridges as well, and we manage the federal program for the off-system bridges. So we work with local entities on the needs of their bridges as well. Ports, we allocate about $20 million a year out of our transportation trust funds to ports, and work with ports where they have private dollars to match those that money to do port projects throughout the state at our ports. Public transit, we allocate, or we administer Federal Transit Authority money for in rural and urban areas. We have public works. We work with the northern levee districts. The southern levee districts are under CPRA. We have 2 owned and operated locks at DOTD. We have oversight of 25 locks in the state. And then our operations is quite large. 3.6 million acres mowed annually, 71,000 cubic yards of litter collected, which I wish that were 0, of course. 11 rest areas. Hopefully some of you have perhaps visited some of our new rest areas in the state. We really had a concerted effort on the rest areas at the state line so that when people come into Louisiana, they have a warm welcome into our state. We have 5 ferry service locations at this time. We have 3,000 plus traffic signals, over 1 million traffic signs, and over 900 buildings. So that just gives you a little bit of idea of our scope of responsibility. Our revenues stand this year for the fiscal year 13-14 at $1.7 billion. And to let you know where we get our funding from, the bulk of that comes from federal funds. When you go to the gas station, 18.4 cents per gallon goes to the federal government, and then we get that back, $874 million. We have a 16-cent gas tax that generates $549 million, and that's what we use to match those federal funds. We have our time TTF, which is a 4-cent gas tax that was passed in 1989 that generates about $115 million. And then we have our vehicle registration fee that provides about $48 million. We also have general GO bonds. That's our capital outlay, House Bill 2 money, $112 million, interagency transfers, $29 million, self-generated, $39 million. We do not have any general funds at DOTD. We're not a general fund organization. So that brings the total to $1.7 billion. So how do we spend that money? Our operating budget this year is $577 million. We have, when I became secretary in 2010, February 2010, that following fall was my first time to experience the budget process as secretary. And we made a commitment at that time that we were going to work hard to streamline DOTD, keep our budget constant, and absorb any cost within our operating budget, and we have managed to do that. And the reason that we do that is because we want to move as much as we can to the capital side to be able to do the highway projects that you see and drive on every day. Our capital outlay, engineering and construction, and the bulk of this is construction, is $800 million this year. In addition to that, the $800 million. We also have capital outlay for our non-highways, such as the ports, the transit, aviation, $124 million. And then our non-federal eligible roads, that vehicle registration fee that generates $48 million, that money solely goes into NFA routes, non-federal eligible roads. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. And then we pay off the time debt service. As you know, that time money, that 4-cent gas tax, was bonded out. In fact, we moved the time program up 20 years by bonding that money out, and hopefully many of you have ridden on those roads. But our debt service this year, our payment, is $135 million. So the time money generates $115 million. We are having to pull about $20 million from our 16-cent gas tax to be able to make that time debt service of $135 million. And then non-DOTD dedicated $89 million, $46 million goes to the Parish Transportation Fund, and $46 million to the Department of Public Safety. A couple of years ago, the Federal Transportation Bill, just want to tell you a little bit about the Federal Transportation Bill. They passed what's called MAP 21. It extends the federal funding through September 30th, 2014. And they made some changes in that federal bill. Expedited project delivery, allowing us to do some of the things instead of in sequence, more in parallel. It also increased the federal share for critical freight projects from 90% federal money to 95% federal money. We adjusted our budget partitions to take advantage of that. And again, this extends through September 30th, 2014, of which we hope to either get an extension or a new bill next fall. So this year, our fiscal year investment, we will let approximately 348 projects have been or will be let. Our fiscal year started July 1st. That's approximately 1,000 miles of roadway improvements, 53 bridge repair or replacement projects. Since Governor Jindal took office, since 2008, more than $5.6 billion has been invested in transportation. That includes some surplus that we received in 2008 and 9, and we were able to reduce, by all of that money, we were able to reduce our needs, and you've probably seen comments about our backlog of needs within the state. It stands at $12 billion, but it used to be $14 billion. So with the money that was infused into transportation, we've reduced that backlog by $2 billion. We've obligated all of our federal funds, and when we obligate our federal funds, it puts us in position to receive additional federal funds that other states weren't able to spend. Again, this is additional federal dollars into our system. In fiscal year 10-11, we received an additional $31.4 million. Fiscal year 11-12, $22 million. And that money, by the way, was dedicated or allocated to the old Mississippi River Bridge. You've seen the structural repairs and the painting going on the old Mississippi River Bridge, which in total, that project is about a $100 million project. And then this year, we received $34.2 million in additional federal funds, and we used that on a list of projects. Really, we just moved them up in the Highway Priority Program, which then leaves opportunity on the back end to add additional projects into our program. So just want to take the opportunity to commend my staff for their hard work to make sure that we obligate 100% federal funds. At DOTD, our first priority, and continues to be and will always be, safety, the safety of our motoring public. In the last 3 to 4 years, we've seen a reduction of 32% in fatalities, and this is really a joint effort with the Highway Safety Commission, Department of Public Safety, DOTD. So on our side, what we're doing at DOTD, we've installed cable barriers along the interstates. The 20 miles between Baton Rouge and New Orleans is complete. It was completed September 2012. We used about $2.7 million of federal safety funds. We've installed about 80 miles of cable barriers throughout the state. Our focus now is turning to I-20, and we have a a great guy at the department who's in charge of our safety program. And what he did is he did a study of the interstate corridors, and then we're strategically moving through those to the more higher incident rates of the crossovers, targeting those first, and then moving down the list. Our goal is to install cable barriers on interstates where it's deemed appropriate. And when I say deemed appropriate, certainly if you have a very wide median with trees, that's not an area that you would put a cable barrier in. We've also been constructing roundabouts. Signals are not the cure-all to traffic problems. Some people think that, but it's not. Signalized interstate intersections, you do have safety issues at those intersections as well. Plus, if you put too many signals within a corridor, it increases the congestion along that corridor. And just one statistic that I like to throw out there just to get you thinking is that if you have a mile segment of roadway and it was a 2-lane roadway and you build a 4-lane facility, and within that mile you put 5 signals within that mile, you've reduced the capacity of that road back to a 2-lane facility. So you have to ask yourself, why did I make the investment to build a multi-lane facility to begin with? So those are the kinds of statistics that we use when we're talking to people, because we want to be able to move traffic down the corridor safely, and then also we want to allow ingress and egress to the businesses. So, you know, it's a real balance of that. So roundabouts it's not a great fix for every location, but it's certainly in our tool bag to look at as a useful way to manage traffic safely through a corridor. We've increased the use of our ITS interstate cameras. We've put the enhanced mile markers up along the interstate, so if they do have an incident, they can know where they are on the interstate so they can get help. And then we have about 2,100 miles of centerline rumble strips throughout the state that we have installed. Some of the awards that we've received at DOTD lately, this is a very recent one. It's called, it was for our timed program, again, that 4-cent gas tax, the 4-laning of a lot of our routes in the state, 167, 165. Perhaps many of you have driven over the Huey P. Bridge was one of them, the Audubon Bridge. But we received, and this was given to us by the American Road and Transportation Builders Association, for accelerating innovation, for accelerating the completion of the TIME program. It's called the TIME Transovation Award. So we received that recently. We also received an award for our John James Audubon Bridge. It was given to us by the Design Build Institute. The John James Audubon Bridge was our first design build project. Recently, and this was last week, we had a press conference and talked about a new sponsorship of our Motorist Assistance Patrol. So I hope all of you saw that. State Farm is the one that had the winning proposal on that. State Farm will be paying us $250,000 a year for 3 years. In order to put their State Farm logo on our trucks. So our trucks have been changed, motor assistance. They used to be yellow and white, now they're red, black and white, so you can see that change on the road. It's really pretty cool. They have, during the day, the DOTD logo is black, but at nighttime when you shine the headlights on it, the DOTD logo is white. So you can see them very easily at night. And we're excited about that because this $250,000 is going to go to help operate those MAP trucks. So that was a great partnership and a great example of a public-private agreement with State Farm. So now what I want to do is talk about some of our key corridors, because that's probably the bulk of what you're mostly interested in. First, I want to talk about our Go Wider effort, and that's GEAUX, Go Wider. We have made great strides on I-10 and I-12 widening, and we're going to continue to do so. So let me tell you about some of the more recent ones. As you know, the widening of I-10 from the Split to Seguin is now open. That was an $86.2 million project. The part from Seguin to Highland was also completed. That was completed June 2013. That was a $60 million project. And, you know, one of the things I say is being secretary, I have received more compliments about the widening of I-10, I-12 than I think I've received compliments about any transportation improvement that we've really done in really my career, which spans about 28 years. I mean, it made such an impact to the traveling public. I have people coming up telling me I can get home so much quicker now. It's such a nice drive. Just wonderful, wonderful comments. We are going to break ground pretty soon on another I-12 widening. As you know, we have I-12 widened all the way to Juban. That project's complete. We'll be completing the part from Juban to Walker soon. Actually, that'll be, the completion is this month, Juban to Walker. And then in the near future, we'll be breaking ground on I-12 from Walker towards Satsuma. And I say towards Satsuma, we don't get all the way to the interchange, but we do get towards Satsuma to widen that from 4 lanes to 6 lanes. We're also making improvements in the St. Tammany Parish area on I-12. We widened the part from what I call the big interchange. It's the I-59, I-10, I-12 interchange back to US 11. And that's made a significant change in the travel there through that area. But what's really going to make a difference is when we get it widened from US 11 all the way to Airport Road, North Shore Road, which we expect to let this summer. And once we have that section completed, then the people in that area will really see a difference in their travel through that area. We're going to continue efforts on I-12, and the reason being is that our overall goal is to have I-12 widened from 4 to 6 lanes all the way. So the idea was to start in Baton Rouge and move towards Slidell, start in Slidell, move towards Baton Rouge. But we're having a lot of congestion within the LA59 area of I-12. So we're going to be looking at that and starting some pre-construction or study areas on that area because that area is growing so rapidly. They're experiencing quite a lot of congestion in there. So we're going to keep moving forward on I-12. I-10, as you know, so we have it widened all the way to Highland. We are starting pre-construction activities or have started pre-construction activities on widening I-10 all the way to LA22. We don't have construction money identified, but want to be proactive, set ourselves up for the future. And so we have started that effort. And then we have some I-10 widening projects going on in New Orleans. There's one that will be complete early 2014. Perhaps you've driven through it, and it extends from Veterans to Clearview. So our Go Wider program has just been tremendously successful and made quite a difference in people's lives and safety. If y'all remember, you recall the accidents and the comments made on I-12, what was that, around O'Neill to Range, and now through this widening project, we've made that corridor so much safer, so much safer. Turning to the timed program, over a $5 billion program, guys, our 4-cent gas tax, tremendously successful. This is another program, and I have received quite a lot of compliments on our time program as well. And as you saw, we've won many awards for our efforts on that. But the project's completed. US 171, US 165, except for Fort Bulow Bridge, is under construction. US 167, except for Dry Prong. I drove through there the other day. That state route in Dry Prong is under construction. US 61 is complete. What a nice drive up to Natchez now. The Audubon Bridge, beautiful, beautiful bridge. The Huey P. Long Bridge. On Father's Day of this year, there was a 5K run, and I participated in that. And my father came out, and actually my whole family. Some of us ran, some of us walked. I was a walker. But what was so great about that project, and I tell engineers this all the time because, you know, we love to envision projects, construct them, and it's just a great sense of pride when you go out there and see a finished product. And these the engineers and the experts that widened the Huey P. Long Bridge, it was so wonderful to see people walking across the bridge with their cameras and just taking pictures, and I mean, just, you know, in awe of the Huey P. Long Bridge. So that was really, really a fun day, and just a lot of people came out. And if you know anything about the Huey P. Long Bridge, we had 3 great lifts, big lifts. I mean, they did something really innovative. They built part of the structure on barges below, and then they lifted them up into place. And we went out there, I went out there one day, and it was really amazing to see the citizens had put their lawn chairs out. You'd think it was the 4th of July fireworks or something, but they had their lawn chairs out there, and they sat out there all day and watched the bridge being lifted into place. Another fun part of that day is we had people there that came to the ribbon cutting that walked across that bridge as children when that bridge was first built. They were called the 49ers, and they were all out there, and I know you can't, I have a picture here where you see them at the ceremony. They even with their walkers and their wheelchairs, they came out there and they wanted to be a part of the festivities. So just a great, great day. I49 North. I know we have someone in the audience who's interested in I49 North, so let me give you some information on I49 North. This project, the total cost is about $670 million. We recently cut the ribbon on 20 miles. We've opened up a section from LA1 to US 71. Arkansas is supposed to be complete this summer, so Secretary Bennett says he's going to be finished. I'm like, thank you very much, because at first we thought it was going to be more like 2015. He's supposed to be finished this summer, so we'll be able to open it all the way up into Arkansas this summer. Now we have one more segment. It's called Segment K to be complete, and that is the I-220, I-49 interchange, okay? We are going to break that project up into 2 phases. It's about a $157 million construction project. We're going to let the first roadway section coming from the north towards the south, the roadway section will be let in January 2014, and then the large interchange, the I-220, I-49 interchange, will be let April or May of 2014. So we expect that to be complete late 2016, early 2017. So that's when you can expect for the whole corridor to be open from I-220 to the Arkansas state line. I49 South. That topic has been in the paper quite a lot here lately. We've made great strides on I49 South. I don't think people quite realize how much has been done on I49 South. It's about 160 miles. We've completed about 100 of those miles. Now, some upcoming projects that you can look forward to seeing. We just opened we did a design build project. The unclaimed property funds were dedicated to I49 South. It's about $7.5 million a year. We're going to be bonding that unclaimed property funds out. So we went, and the first bond sale should be this week for I49 North and I49 South. So we did a design build project. We had estimated that the cost would be somewhere around $75 million, and actually we opened the proposals, and the winning proposal is $57.1 million. So quite a savings there. And of course, when you have savings, you have people saying, hey, can you put on this project, or that project? But I'm here to say that the unclaimed property funds are allocated solely for I49 South. So the savings will be used to move 2 other I49 South projects up on the schedule, and we're looking at that right now, running our numbers to make a final decision on which projects will be next. Now, just to sort of go in sequence, and I know I49 South gets a little confusing because of all the pieces and segments and frontage roads, but we are going to go out with the pre-construction, selecting a consultant for the part from I-10 to Pinhook. The construction dollars of that are about $750 million. We do not have construction money identified at this time, but again, I want to be proactive, setting ourselves up for the future. So we're going to get that segment designed from I-10 to Pinhook. So that's a really big design project that will be going out. Again, we have the design build project extends from Albertsons over a railroad track. Let me move back a little bit. From Pinhook towards the railroad track, we widened with state surplus money from 4 lanes to 6 lanes. Then we have the design build project, and then under design I have the Ambassador Caffrey project. Pensco out of the Lafayette area is doing the design on that. We have some frontage roads under construction. We also just recently got the environmental clearance for US 90 interchange at LA 318. That's an interchange that I'd like to complete. If you remember, we used federal stimulus money to do the interchange of US 85 LA 85 and US 90. So we're moving forward with I49 South, and we will continue to do that. As I said before in my remarks with I49 North was a priority of the governor when he first became governor. He committed to funding the funding for I49 North, which he has done. And now that we have completely funded I49 North from I220 up to the Arkansas state line, we are turning our attention aggressively to I49 South. Another program that we're quite proud of is an initiative that was backed by Governor Jindal, and that is to bond out the vehicle registration fees. That's that $48 million that comes in to transportation trust funds every year, dedicated solely to the non-federal aid routes. By bonding that initiative out, we're going to be able to spend about $425 million on our rural roads, our NFA routes, over the next 3 years. The first bond sale was last March, and we've just about let all of that projects with that first $100 million. We're looking towards bonding out. The next bond sale will be January of 2014 is what we're anticipating, and most likely it'll be a bond sale that bonds out about $225 million. We'll be able to move approximately 1,100 miles of rural roadways, and these repairs benefit the farming community. Some of these roads haven't been touched in like 30 years, and the governor and I have been traveling throughout the state making the announcement on what roads will be done in these rural areas, and the people are just really excited about having some of this work done in their area. So this will make a very large impact. Also underway in the New Orleans area, if you have been down there, you've seen some of our roadways restored down there due to the hurricanes that we've had down in the New Orleans area. We have an ongoing program right now, $90 million of repairing, restoring, enhancing more than 60 roadway segments. This is another program that has really made a difference for people. And we haven't just gone in there and put it back like it was, but we've made enhancements such as some sidewalk repairs. We've also included pedestrian lanes, bike lanes. So really looking at it from a complete streets perspective and making changes to really make a difference to the New Orleans area. And I was just down there the other day for a ribbon cutting on one of those roadways, and we had a representative from the mayor's office there and city council folks, and we're continuing to move forward with those projects. Perhaps you've been on Magazine Street. That was one of the roads that was done under this program. Moving projects forward, this is what we have to look forward to. We're moving forward with pre-construction activities, and I'm just highlighting some that I thought that you would be interested in. Jubin Road widening from Florida to I12, moving forward with the design of that. And we do have construction dollars to move that forward all the way through construction. We have a consultant working on the Pete's Highway interchange, the EA, and looking at different concepts of that through the environmental clearance on that project. Essen Lane widening, we made a announcement on Essen Lane widening. We'll be adding a lane. As you know, it's 3 lanes one direction, 2 lanes the other. We're going to be adding a 3rd lane all the way from Perkins to the I-10 Essen interchange, and I think that'll really help Essen Lane out when we get that done. We had anticipated letting that in the summer of 2014, but due to all the utilities in that area, more than we anticipated, we've moved that to a November 2014 letting. I-10 PQ interchange, the city, we have an agreement with the city parish, and they're continuing to move forward with some preliminary design on the I-10 PQ Lane interchange. And then I already talked about the I12 project that will be letting the Summer North Shore Airport Road to US 11. And then we're moving forward with a timed project that we didn't have funding left in the time program to complete, but legislatively we're slated to do that project. So we're moving forward with the pre-construction, and that is what we call I-12 to Bush, LA 3241. We finally got the environmental clearance on that, and the Corps approved the project. So we've broken that into 3 segments for design, and we've already selected the consultants for the design of that project. Another project we're moving forward with, perhaps many of you have been on the section of LA1 from Leeville down to Port Fourchon. We're now looking at that segment from Golden Meadow down to Leeville, and that is under design, and we've broken it into 3 segments, and we have capital outlay money to be able to construct the first segment, about a $46 million project starting at Golden Meadow to about a point, I think it's about a mile long for that first segment. So we're going to move forward with construction of that as soon as plans are complete. We're in the environmental stage of the Hooper Road extension, and then we're doing the engineering on LA 3139, which is Earhart Expressway to US 61, and the Causeway Boulevard Earhart Expressway interchange. We are working on the EA and some traffic modeling. Significant projects, and I'm almost done, significant upcoming projects for that have been let to construction, not yet started. I-12 widening Walker towards Satsuma. Phase 2 of the US 90 Mississippi River Bridge. This is the railroad part, and actually they're paying 100% of that. The railroad approaches to the old bridge. And it's going to be painted a gray silver color, if you don't know that, instead of the orange that it was. We let the LA42 project in Ascension Parish, clearing, grubbing, sewer relocation for $8.7 million. And then projects not yet let, but coming up in the future, the actual widening of LA42 once we get the clearing, grubbing, and sewer relocation done, LA411 and LA413 resurfacing, the I-10 Mississippi River Bridge cleaning and painting project. It'll be some spot painting. And LA64 Center Turn Lane, and then the I-10 resurfacing from Rama to West Baton Rouge. You've probably seen where the I-10 is a little rough and some spots over there as you head towards Lafayette. We'll be working on that. And planning for our future, our statewide transportation plan was completed in 2003. We're updating that. This is what we use to determine what projects we're going to move forward with design and construction. It's focused on the economic growth for the state. It covers all modes of transportation, and we expect this to be finished summer of 2014. If you look at the statewide transportation plan when it was completed in 2003, we have made great progress on some of the projects, especially if you look at priority A. There's mega projects, priority A, B, and C, and we've completed a majority of the mega projects A. So it's good to have a plan. We need to have a plan so that we know where we're headed in this state for transportation. DOTD is all about safety, looking for ways to make our roadways safer throughout the state. We have made incredible strides in creating a safer travel way for the traveling public. In fact, the fatalities have been reduced by 32% over the past 3 or 4 years. So we want to continue that trend and make safety improvements, whether it's by the cable barriers that are going up on the interstates, roundabouts, using those in strategic locations instead of signalized intersections, and just pavement markings that people can really see well at night, at rumble strips, centerline rumble strips. So all of those safety improvements that we've been working on throughout the state.
What is the latest on I49 South?
I49 South, the latest is we just opened the proposals for a section of I49 South that runs from Albertsons Parkway over the railroad track, US 90, through the Broussard area. We opened those proposals last Thursday, and the bid came in at $57.1 million. So we were very excited about that. It is lower then the projected cost of the project. So we do have some savings on that project, which will be invested into other projects on I49 South. I just want to talk about I12. We've made great strides on I12 and I10. We call it our Go Wider program. We have a project that we will be breaking ground soon to extend I12 even further from Walker towards Satsuma. We have a project that we will be letting to bid in the St. Tammany Parish area, going from US 11 to North Shore Airport Drive, and that will be let summer of 2014. So we've made great strides on I-12, I-10 corridors, and you're going to continue to see improvements made on those interstates.